Hello and welcome to Center of Weirdness or Center of Spookiness. It's the weird podcast about very weird stuff, but mostly just television episodes. And with that title change, you'll recognize that we are in fully to the spooky season now. We kicked it off last time with Salute Your Shorts' kind of spooky Freddy Krueger inspired episode. And this time on the show, we decided to just go right for the big guns and talk about Freddy's Nightmares. I'm Josh, and with me, as always, is Spooky Skinner. Hey, Skinner.
Hey, Josh. Hey, all you spuds out there.
But yeah, so last time, like I said, we talked about Salute Your Shorts. They mentioned Freddy Krueger. They really played up on that, and we thought, let's just go for it. Let's talk about Freddy's Nightmares, a show that I've never seen. I knew about it. I knew the existence of it. Didn't have any experience with this show whatsoever. And in us trying to find an episode to cover for the podcast this week, literally any of these could have shown up on here. And maybe we'll revisit it again, in the future. Maybe there's a Christmas episode or something that we'll talk about, when the holiday season rolls around. But man, any episode based on some of these descriptions could have been a good episode for us to cover.
We always go through the episode list and try to figure out the episode with the dumbest or most outrageous name or plot line. It was so hard to narrow it down on this one. I think we did okay. I think
so too. This episode I actually had a lot of fun watching this because it's very silly.
It is very silly. It is completely of its time.
Oh, yes.
There is no one to like in this episode. No one.
No, not really. Did you have any experience with this show?
I knew of its existence. I don't remember if or where it was syndicated in Canada, where I grew up, but I would never have watched it because it would have been too spooky, and in fact, is not.
It is very funny to put this in perspective, in terms of kind of the things that seem like they were scarier than they really were when you were a kid. I think this show, even though it was on television, even though it couldn't have been that scary, I think that as a kid, you just sort of, and this was before I had seen any of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, so I didn't really know, I knew that Freddy looked scary and that it was a well-known horror series. I was much more of a Friday the 13th person, which there also is a series based on that coming soon maybe. But seeing this show up, I think this, I can't remember where this would have been syndicated for me either. I want to say maybe the Sci-Fi Channel. They might have shown this, or maybe UPN. I don't reruns and stuff because this was 89, I think. But yeah, it felt like it was too scary for me. I liked Are You Afraid of the Dark, and I liked Goosebumps and some of those shows, but I felt like this was maybe just one step up that would have been just a bit too scary for where I was in my relationship with horror at that point.
I think one of the things I remember very clearly as a kid, most of my experience with horror movies would be looking at horror movie covers at the rental shop.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And I always assumed from that and covers of Fangoria and stuff that Freddy Krueger was the real scary shit compared to other things. I had because the body horror thing was more scary to me, what he would do and stuff.
Yeah.
But it isn't so much now.
No, I mean the first one is still pretty unnerving. There is some great gore, and I think some of the later ones do also have good gore, and they're good things in all of them. I think probably.
I think too. I think my favorite thing from the first movie, which I recently rewatched in theater with a friend of the show, Phil Gonzalez, and from this episode, is anytime someone calls him Fred Krueger.
Yeah. They're they're still very formal. He's murdered, according to this episode, more than 600 children, but he's still, they still have to create a formality there.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna call him Freddy. That's what kids and his friends would call him.
Yeah.
I know him professionally as Fred Krueger.
You're an adult now. Drop the childish nickname. You go by Fred.
Yeah, it always amuses me when someone calls him Fred Krueger. I don't know why. Like I can't imagine him walking into a room and saying like, "Hey, oh, it's Fred."
So this is the last. Oh, I didn't even think about that. This is the season finale of season 1.
What a finale too.
Yeah, episode 22, Safe Sex. Original air date May 28th, 1989. So only about 10 days after my 4th birthday. So definitely wouldn't have watched this in prime time when it aired. But yeah, so we're talking about this. This is about 2 virginal teens who each lust after this goth girl who happens to be obsessed with Freddy Krueger. And that sentence alone, we were like, well, we have to watch this one because there's no way that it can't be terrible.
The fact they called it safe sex, which was such a fucking buzzword at the time, they're just desperately trying to get people to use condoms back in the 80s.
And that never comes up.
It never comes up. They didn't think it's funny. Like the idea, like that phrase is funny. Like, you know, Viagra would be in like 1999, but the real like story of this episode is that like these little incel boys, when actually faced with the actual act that they have so much trouble talking about in plain terms, they are very good at negging women, but they are not very good at talking about the actual sexual act. They're terrified of having sex.
Yeah, I would say that Nicholas, the sort of lead of our second half of the episode, is more of the negging kid than Dana.
He's an asshole, but he's terrible. The only one who lives.
Yeah, that is weird, right? Like,
I think we're supposed to think he's cool.
I guess, you know, like, because there are like horror movies are very they do have that sort of morality thing. Like, you know, you want characters who are bad to get their comeuppance. Like, you know, people who are mean or people who are shitty, they get killed, and then you're sort of excited about it. You're like, they got what they deserved. And then there's this weird morality purity thing involved. Like, if you have sex, you die. If you do this, you die. Like, if you smoke or drink or whatever, if you're a, quote, bad kid, you die. And I guess the morality does not extend to being a complete shitbag to a woman. I guess that's okay.
I think it's because she's the one who's bad because she rejects their advances. They don't know her.
Yes.
They just decide that they like her from a distance.
Yes.
They are physically attracted to her, and thus because she can't come up with a good reason not to go out and get groped by them, that means she is in fact a bad person because she has no, and she is told by what it turns out to be an actual therapist later that she is just afraid of going out with a normal guy, and she has no good reason to not go out with this guy who is pursuing her and stalking her, and both of them are neg her to her face because she looks different. Because she has, quote unquote, no good reason to not go out with them, she is in fact bad.
Yeah, like when we were watching this,
she is insulted as her corpse is insulted by other adults.
That's true. When we were watching this, there's a couple of characters who meet with a therapist, and we kept thinking like, oh, this is definitely Freddy Krueger pretending to be this therapist, like in their dreams or whatever. And it's like, no, he's just a regular guy who has seen lots of murder and dealt with lots of people with trauma in this town in Springwood, and is still pushing her to go out with some guy that she has no interest in.
Because it will help solve her problems of being too goth.
Okay, so before we get into the episode, like proper, I do want to talk about the opening credits to this show, because I'd never seen it, so this was all like kind of new to me. And you're getting a little bit of like, you're getting a little bit of like spooky music, but the opening credits kind of feel like Cheers a little bit. Like we're just doing like a lot of close-ups and moving still image shots of like the town, and it just looks like Cheers to me for whatever reason. And there's it's great because you see a newspaper pop up on screen that says like Freddy Krueger released from prison or whatever. And then also, I guess on that same day, there was a record bingo jackpot.
So he is really, in a way, related to good luck.
I love that that's like the second story on the front page underneath the headline. Like, Freddy Krueger released from prison, and then off on a small side column, record bingo jackpot.
Not record lottery jackpot.
No, bingo.
Bingo. And like we get to see this great drawn sign of the Springwood city sign, and it has population pop, but doesn't give you like it's right there for the population to be 666.
I realize that the reason that it doesn't say it is probably because so many people are killed there that they can't update it. They just leave it blank because it changes regularly.
Millions served.
That's right. Millions killed in Springwood. But yeah, I love that there was somebody playing bingo on the day that Freddy died. And I wonder if anybody won that bingo jackpot. It just says it's a record bingo jackpot. It doesn't say anybody won it. It just says there is one.
I mean, Freddy's now free. He could go win it.
Yeah, what if he went by the bingo hall on his way to get burned alive by those parents and played bingo?
What if he actually got burned alive for winning it? Like
That's
he's like,
right.
bingo, spuds! And then like they all got pissed off that he won one day out of jail.
They stole all his money. It wasn't about him murdering their children. It was about him winning that bingo jackpot.
Oh my God.
That motherfucker killed our kids and he won the bingo jackpot?
He could buy a whole new shack.
He could move out and go murder more kids.
But man, this show, this particular episode, what of a time it was. Their idea of what a goth girl is.
Yeah. And
these two kids, Nicholas, who is the part one A story.
Oh no, Dana's part one.
No, like but he Nicholas is the A story sidekick.
Oh yes.
And main character is Dana. Nicholas is this little asshole, and Dana is dressed like a little middle-aged man.
He looks a little bit like Ricky Schroeder and Peter Weller. Like before he gets killed, like blown up in RoboCop. That's what he looks like. They've like merged together.
It's real. He looks so old. He's got big baggy slacks on at one point.
Like the late 80s was when teens dressed like they were in their 40s.
And then he's in therapy. And I swear to God, this is all it is. This is all it is that he's in therapy because he likes a goth girl. Because he doesn't have normal tastes.
But he doesn't. That's the thing. Is that like when you see inside his brain, he just wants a regular, and I say regular in quotes, like he wants a, quote, normal girl.
Yeah, he likes this one girl. We'll get to her in a second. But when we go into his dreams, he wants to change everything about her.
Yeah.
But so he's in therapy because he doesn't have normal tastes. And then weirdly... And this is so strange. He talks like it's so deep. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like he has these strange tastes.
How do you talk about what's inside your head, doctor?
In his dream, in reality, he's kind of awkward around the girl he likes. But in his dreams, it's all different.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's a fucking dream. Like if you took Freddy Krueger out of this entire equation, this kid's just an idiot.
Yeah. He's
like this therapist should be like, get the fuck out of here.
It's so stupid because like this is also the, they're calling her goth, and it basically just means you wear black and so you're evil or something, or you probably the devil. That's kind of their whole thing.
Yeah, they go to a library, which is like a bookstore. They stop in front of the Rise and Fall of Nazi Germany book.
That's right.
And they see her at a distance, and they have never met her. And he decides that she's a stone fox, and he's going to go talk to her. Nicholas, his best friend, is like, she doesn't have one stitch of clothing that isn't black. She's like a devil worshiper. She's a classic witch bitch.
Oh, he calls her the Wicked Witch of the Midwest.
Yeah, and all she looks like is she's in she's in Poison.
Yeah,
like she looks like hair metal, and she looks like someone who wasn't into horror movies enough to dress really like Elvira.
No, she's like, she got big poofy kind of grayish black hair.
Feathered hair.
She looks like she's in a Whitesnake video or something. Like, she does not look gothy as you would sort of take that to be. I mean,
even like 5 years later.
Yeah, it's very simplified, their idea of what goth is. And also it's like, oh, these guys like her because she's pretty. Like, she's pretty. That's why they like her.
Yeah, and they never get around to just saying that. But like I mean, their dreams are entirely about her taking her clothes off. And
yeah. And I think she's a senior, and I think they're juniors. So it's also like
she also looks like 35.
She's the older, more attractive girl. I think in this episode she is like in her like late 20s.
Yeah, but like they walk up to her, and Nicholas immediately just fucking goes off on her for no reason. And then she does mention that she has a crush kind of on Fred Krueger.
Yeah, she's reading a book with the header on one of the pages that just says Fred Krueger really big.
Yeah, and then he's like starts dropping all these catchphrases and insults. He calls Freddy a glazed dog nut.
I think we had International Dog Nut Day like a couple weeks ago. Finally getting
the service they deserve, all those dog nuts. But like fucking, it just goes on and on and on, just insulting her. Then she's finally like, fuck off, you two. I don't even know you. And Dana turns to her best friend and is like, what the fuck was that? And he's like, well, turns out he has a pickup artist book.
Yeah. Oh, so she is reading about Freddy Krueger, and she does tell them that like Freddy was a god and he understood things, whatever that means. And it
just means that he was mean.
And we do get like things in here where, and I do want to get back to that pickup artist book, but I don't want to miss the little interstitials with Freddy showing up.
The interstitials are worth watching this alone for, because they get better and better, and it's about 900 of them.
Yeah, they do a lot of them. They do it whenever it goes to commercial, obviously, but then you also have little bits where he's breaking in, because I'd never seen the show, so I thought that he set it up from the beginning, like a crypt keeper kind of thing. But he just kind of pops in randomly, and then I guess is also part of the actual story. But yeah, there's a part where it's like it moves through the bookstore, and then he like punches some books out, and he's like, knowledge is power, but there are some girls you shouldn't go to pieces over, which doesn't really make any sense.
It's not a play on any words.
It's not a pun. Like, yeah, like he's punny, but it's not a pun. So
they get worse and worse as the episode goes on. But like we get to see him punch those books out and go to a freeze frame 19 times.
Every time they cut to a commercial, there is a Freddy bit, and then there's also a Freddy bit when they come back from commercial. And the commercials don't hit where you think they should. Some of them hit where it's like, oh, there's a moment where in one of the dreams, Dana gets grabbed by Freddy, and it's like, oh, it goes to commercial, and you're like, okay, that's a scary moment. Then there are other moments where it's just people standing around or her sitting in a car, and then it cuts to commercial, and you're like, why is it doing that?
I don't know, but it's always funny when he shows up.
It's very funny. So yeah, like Dana is telling his therapist, Dr. DeVries, I think he has his own institute where you can get a college degree, that he's infatuated with Caitlin, the goth girl, because she is mysterious, and he also doesn't want it to be too attractive. Easy.
Yeah, I don't want things that come too easy.
Yeah, just like himself.
He does have a very funny death. But then we see his dream, and he's dressed up in these giant glasses, and he has this fucking turtleneck on, and he looks every bit a 40-year-old pervert.
Yeah, he looks like he's now that I'm thinking about it, he looks kind of like he's on the set of Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction. Like he's kind of it's got the weird fun lighting of that, but it's just in a crypt. And she's running around in this crypt, and she's like, Freddy's after me. And she opens her shirt to reveal these like claw marks. And he tries to save her, but it's a dream. So, of course, she turns into Freddy and grabs him. And he wakes up and he has this like, mark on his throat where he was grabbed. So he, and every time they cut back to him and her in the therapist's office, they're like, it was real. I felt it. It was really blood, or my neck really had a mark on it. And then he's like, you're just making this up.
If that happened twice to two people who both ended up dead, maybe at some point you'd stop saying that to them.
Yeah, he does ask him here. This is when we get to the pickup artist book. His therapist asks if he ever talks to his friends about his dreams, and he's like, not really, because then I feel weird about it, or like they might make fun of me or whatever. But he sort of tells Nicholas about the dream, but Nicholas doesn't really believe him, and this is when he introduces this book that he's got that he says will really work and really help him pick up women, and it's called How Boys Can Pick Up Girls by Gene Narum. I was hoping there would be some sort of play on words in that name, but there isn't. I don't know if I doubt that's a real book. I can't imagine that that's a real book.
How much experience do you have with pickup artist books, Josh?
Not very, not many. I did live. Okay, so I did live with a guy who tried to be a pickup artist.
I mean, that's an interesting story, but I don't want you to get in trouble either.
I mean, I don't think that I would necessarily get in trouble. I mean, I don't live with the guy anymore. He dicked me out of some money. So if he's listening to this, pay me my fucking money back, you asshole.
That's what we'll name this episode.
But yeah, no, he went pretty far with it. Like he told me some of these things like a couple times, like certain things that he would do and things that he would use to try to like pick up women. And like, he even went so far. He really got into this in the era that VH1 show was on, like the pickup artist show that they had where people competed to learn from mystery. This really,
what a shitty time in history.
what an awful era.
And we live in a shitty time in history, but that was also a shitty time in history.
Yeah. So he even like so far he wasn't from California. I don't remember where he was from, somewhere in the Midwest, I think. And he drove out here to California, hooked up with these guys, some of the guys who were involved with that show, and like even lived in like one of the dude's closets or something for 6 weeks while he learned some stuff from him, and would go down to Hollywood Boulevard or not Hollywood Boulevard. Oh God, there's another one. It doesn't fucking matter. But he would go down, or Sunset Boulevard. He would go down there to like all the bars, and he would like try to like pick up women, and he would run his game and do his thing. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. He would tell me about all the other bullshit that he would do, like, I mean, and it's to the point of this one. In this episode, there's a passage of the book that's like how to turn any woman you want into your slave. And it's the equivalent of that, him saying stuff like, yeah, you kind of treat women like they're dogs and they go for it. And it's like, I don't think he was like, yeah, if you go into a bar or a club and you see some woman you like you like point at her and snap your finger and like motion to yourself, like, so she'll come to you. And it's like, Jesus Christ, my man, that can't be a thing that you do. Like you're awful. And he would leave on, he had a dog, and he would leave his this pickup artist guy that he watched various YouTube videos and shit of. He would leave those on for his dog when he was out. So I would come home.
So his dog get laid?
Yeah, I guess I would come home when there would be like shit going on, and and it was just, I mean, to a point where there was a bar around the corner from our apartment, and we lived in kind of a shitty area, but there was like a bar around the corner, and he would just set up multiple dates there throughout the day in like 3-hour intervals, so that if he went there, met up with a girl, and he could close the deal. They could go back to the apartment very quickly, and he could, I don't know, get a blowjob or something, and then he could be back ready for the next date in a couple hours. Like, he was an absolute piece of shit. And if he is listening, again, pay me my fucking money that you stole from me. But yeah, so real piece of garbage. I'm sure he would have read this book and tried the things in it and would have gotten murdered by Freddy Krueger, and I would have been okay with it.
That'd have been fine if he had his dick ripped off by Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for later in this episode.
Yeah. So yeah, he gives him this book, and this is when it comes out that like a lot of incels who pick up artist shit, Nicholas has also never had sex.
He's he has gotten some tactical R&R.
Yeah, he has.
Which I don't know what that means.
He has this girl that he is sort of seeing named Sookie, who chews watermelon bubble gum, which Dana apparently does not like. But yeah, she apparently let him do a tactical R&R on her once, whatever that means. So it seems like they've done some foreplay stuff, but never actually gotten to the act itself. And Nicholas is like, "Oh, I almost have, but haven't gotten there yet." So he heads off to where Sookie's at work to try to cut him off a slice of pizza. And this is when we get this weird moment where Dana looks at the book, and the cover art, which was previously a woman in some lingerie, is now a man in a tuxedo holding a woman's head. But the shot of the book is so blurry that you can't really see who it is. At first, it could be Freddy Krueger in a tuxedo, but it also just looks like the weird Six Flags guy or Larry Bud Melman from Late Night with David Letterman. Or The Late Show, holding a woman's head. So I can't really tell who it's supposed to be. It could be all three of those guys.
And it also could be he's just patting her head and she's sitting down while he's standing up.
It could be that, but it doesn't look like it. And it's such a weird shot that is not in focus and it's prominent enough for us to see what the fuck it is.
And yet, and we did freeze frame it and everything. And yet the soundtrack goes into full whoop, 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 and he goes, "Oh," and he drops the book and is like, at least have Freddy in the fucking cover like a skeleton.
Yeah, or have Freddy like reaching out at you or something. Like, do a bad effect where Freddy reaches out of the front of the book or something like that.
It's so weird they chose to do this.
It's very funny. Like, he drops the book, and of course Caitlin comes over and sees it and stands over him like a giant woman. And
we do get at least two shots of every movie VHS box from 1989 of from between her legs.
Oh yes, of course, yeah. Taking a Graduate and turning it into a parody. And she asks if he's doing a book report and kind of stomps off. And
she kind of looks like the bad version from Angel.
Oh, the movie series where the high school girl becomes a sex worker by night.
Yes, Angel by day, sex worker by night, Angel.
Yeah, they made four. I think they made four of those.
Why? They were always ready to get rented. No one ever took those out.
I think there is here in LA. I might have already missed it, but
a whole store dedicated to Angel.
No, but I think there might be a screening of that movie somewhere here in LA at some point. But yeah, so like she kind of stomps off and is mad at him, and this is when he's at his therapy session, and he says, I think that if I got her, she might be too much for me. Oh, I didn't miss it. It is happening on September 26th. Angel and Avenging Angel double feature.
So if you're listening to this after the 26th, I apologize. You missed out on the social event of the season.
Yeah, this will be out before then. So let's see if this comes out. Yeah, this will be coming out the week before. This is this. So if you're in LA and you listen to our show, weird crossover. But yeah, you can go to the New Beverly and see Angel and Avenging Angel.
Tell them Josh sent you, and they'll go, who?
Yeah, they'll be like, who? I don't know who you're talking about. But yeah, high school honor student by day, Hollywood hooker by night.
It was just so prevalent in rental stores. It's hard to explain. It'd be like if somehow it's the equivalent if you were on Twitter now and for some reason a movie based on that was constantly being promoted to you on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, he says that if he got her, she'd be too much for him. Like, which
Stupid.
during the thing, the watching of the episode, you were like, you wouldn't have anything in common, which they probably wouldn't.
Which is a problem, but not to movies and TV shows at this vintage.
Yeah,
because you just decide that you like a girl and you wear her down.
That's right. She is a prize to be won.
I mean, the therapist does say at some point she's a person, a human being, not a prize.
She's not in your dream.
Right, but that's all. All he means is that you should go fuck her.
Yeah, and
because she's a real person you can get inside.
And he kind of throws that advice away later when he's talking to Caitlin herself. So Dana reads the book and it tells him to envision any girl you want. And it'll manifest itself. It's the secret, I guess. If he believes it, it'll come true. So he does. He thinks about her, and she's walking around in this black outfit with no pants on, and
no pants.
He's like, I wish that she would wear different clothes, and I wish she were a blonde. And so she comes in and takes her clothes off, and now is a blonde. And it's like
that's destroying the entire premise of why he likes her.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Like, if you like her because she's hot, then that's your reason. It doesn't matter what kind of clothes she wears. There are plenty of women out there who are both you could put two women who dress completely differently and have different personalities right next to each other, and they can both be attractive, and you can both be attracted to them, not just because one is a goth and one is a, trad wife or something. Like, that's what he seems to want. He wants this traditional beauty who's blonde and doesn't dress in all black. And it's like, then you don't like her because that's not who she is.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he wishes that she just wasn't her. Just
yes,
her body proportions, I guess, is what.
Yeah, I want this hot girl, but with a different haircut and different clothes.
Like, mind you, he's like supposed to be in like 10th or 11th grade, so like he doesn't know shit.
True.
But at the same time, the show doesn't portray it as he doesn't know shit. It does cut off his dick, though, so you have to give him that.
Yeah, gets his comeuppance. This is actually a great moment, though. This whole sequence is very fun because
the whole sequence is incredibly crazy.
Yes.
And has nothing to do with, is not built towards at all, which I love.
No, so she climbs on top of him and she's like, we gotta get those clothes off of you too. And his clothes pop off and he's like scared. And
then we cut to Freddy and he's laughing at him.
That's right. Oh, that's when they cut to a commercial break, I think. Like,
yes.
And he's got his clawed hand in front of his mouth laughing at this kid. So then we come back and Nicholas shows up and he's like talking about how Dana, being scared is kind of wimpy and like he needs to just go for it. And then he puts a big cigar in Caitlin's mouth, which she lights up. And then Dana's mom shows up and she's like, Dana, what are you doing with this hussy? You're not good enough for my son. And she pulls a gun out and points it right at Caitlin and is like, you're going to eat a hollow point.
And we have to point out, we have not met his mom until this moment.
No, it's just so out of left field. And also the fact that she's like, you're going to eat a hollow point. You're like, what the fuck? Mom's out there killing cops in the streets.
I guess.
Got to go through those bulletproof vests. So Caitlin turns to her, to the mother and blows a bunch of smoke out into her face, which then turns the mom into smoke, and then Caitlin inhales all of the smoke back into her mouth.
What kind of PDS shit is this?
It's wild. Like, it's so strange and really funny.
It's so out of left field too. Like, none of this is built towards.
No, it's really funny. And so he runs out and he's like freaked out. And then she shows up again as a redhead. And she's like, red is this color of lust. And she has this the Freddy glove on, and she's like, we're gonna make it happen. And then she just like slashes at his dick. And then his mom comes in and finds him dead, naked in bed. So I guess I don't know what happened to him. I guess he had a heart attack or something, or ripped his own dick off. I don't know.
He literally whacked it off.
And
mom is like, just like, oh.
Yeah, mom is not as concerned, I think, as she should be that she's found her son dead, I guess, of erotic asphyxiation. I mean, I'm sure that's what they would say that it was.
I'm sure, like, if they made fun of Dana later for self-mutilation and overdosing, like literally just basically like throwing dirt on her corpse, I can't imagine what the police officer said at this scene.
Yeah.
And then we find out later, not that many people showed up at his funeral.
Yeah. And then this is when we get Freddy reading from the book and saying, you'll always remember your first time if you live.
What does that mean?
It's like, I guess that is true, Freddy.
You can say that about anything.
That's right. Like you'll always remember your first time eating sea urchin if you live.
Like you'll always remember your first, tall, frosty glass of Coca-Cola. If you live.
You'll always remember your first car accident if you live.
So
Which
weird.
is true.
Oh, God. And then
you'll always remember your first airline flight if you live.
Now, luckily, with these characters we have already been introduced to, we're not done with them. There is a second story, but now we are done with Dana because Dana has died through penis abrasions. And it is time for Dana's half of the story, but starting for not Dana.
Nicholas.
For Nicholas's half the story.
Well,
not
Nicholas
really,
and Caitlin, I guess.
Nicholas and Caitlin's
both.
Yeah,
but
both, but kind of more Caitlin. And we're gonna start though at Dana's funeral.
I think this is kind of clever though, and I'm assuming that the rest of the episodes are like this as well, where they don't just have two stories, but they have like two different stories, but they're connected, which I think is kind of a fun way to do that.
I hope so. That would be a really good way of doing it. Gets that body count up, but it also gives you a chance to introduce the B story characters early and then flesh them out.
Yeah, I like that. So yeah, we are at Dana's funeral. Nicholas says that if the same number of people showed up for his funeral, then he won't even bother dying. That's how low the attendance was.
Yep, that's his best friend. And then we get a nice intro from Freddy where he does a rhyme where he ends up saying, because I never go steady, which I have never given a thought to in a moment of my life if Freddy was into monogamy.
Yeah, he says, boy meets girl, girl wants Freddy, Freddy doesn't go steady, because he's not that type of guy.
Something blood.
So yeah, and then Nicholas sees Caitlin show up outside the funeral, and he goes up to her and just starts like badgering her, and he's like, you here getting off on all the black clothing?
He's a total dick to her.
Such an asshole.
She does not like. I assume she just happens to be walking nearby, but even if not, she does not know this guy. She passed him once at the library, but from our perspective, they never ran in before or afterwards.
Yeah, like she had one encounter with him in the library where he was also an asshole to her.
Yes, and like so 3 minutes of her entire life, and then this guy saying like that she's basically at fault for his death because she was like, I don't know you, we have nothing in common, go away.
Yeah, and then
now
he grabs this this book that she's carrying, and it's like an art book, and he flips through it, and he's like, what is this? And he sees a drawing of Freddy, a cool looking drawing, very, very fun. She has good artistic skills. And then he's like kind of badgering her about that, and she like takes off. She's like, you don't understand anything about Freddy, and she runs off. And then we cut to Caitlin seeing Dr. DeVries at therapy, and she's not dressed like a goth. She's wearing mostly white at that point.
She's wearing like sweatpants.
Yeah, she's got like sweatpants and like a black and white sweater on, like a kind of a zebra pattern kind of thing going on. And it's like, all right, did she stop being goth? But we thought that for a while because we thought all of these things were happening like as flashbacks where she's telling the doctor what's going on. But then at the end of the episode, she's back to being a goth. So it doesn't really make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Here's the main thing where it doesn't make any sense, because she clearly goes twice, because she mentions 2 times where things actually happen to her from her dream into real life. But she's wearing the same outfit both times.
Yes, exactly. So
she went and changed back into the same outfit as the first time to go see him again. That is her therapy outfit. Or her therapy pants.
Yeah, her therapy pants. That's right. So at the library the next day, Nicholas tries to apologize to her.
And then hit on her.
And then he hits on her, of course. He
says he's not a twisto. Don't get that wrong. He doesn't want to grope her, but he does want to go see her at the overpass or
the overlook.
The overlook.
They're not hanging out on the side of the highway.
He will now do for the rest of the This guy who has done nothing but insult her and blame her for her death is now constantly telling her that he wants to go to the overlook and fucking get in her panties.
Yeah,
like nonstop. He's the rest of the episode.
He insults Freddy again here, and she's like, Freddy had power, and I want that power. And she's like, there are wolves and there are sheep, and Freddy was a wolf, and I want to be a wolf, and it's better than being a sheep. And he's like, yeah, well, he's like, just, he wants to ask her on a date, but she's like, I don't want to do that because it never works out. And he's like, no, we'll just go up and we'll talk. No alcohol, no groping, just talking.
But he will grope her.
He wants to. That's for sure the thing. She says maybe, and he kind of stalks off, and
but
he stares
why?
at her ass, and she's like, yeah, maybe, all right. And
then we're told by the therapist the rest of this episode that she should just say yes because he's a normal boy.
Yeah, it's so we see inside her room, and it's
a phone sex commercial.
It's a fairly big room. It is filmed like a phone sex commercial as the camera pans around all of her stuff, and she's lighting candles and everything. And
there's a lot of saxophone.
there is a lot of sax in this episode. She's drawing some more Freddy art. On the radio, we hear this song playing, and it ends, and the DJ says, "That was You Carved My Heart by Giant Human Sandwich."
Pretty great.
And then there's a dedication that pops up on the radio, and it says, don't go out with this spud head, or and the song is called Do My Will or Else by the Janitors of Anarchy, and that is dedicated by Freddy.
Pretty great. And then we have a really confusing section where we have something that appears to be Nicholas's dream, but it actually is Caitlin's dream.
Yes, it was really confusing. I thought, oh, okay, now this is where Nicholas is going to get in, where like Freddy is going, because it would make sense that Freddy would go after Nicholas because he's after his girl. Like that's kind of what it boils down to, is that Caitlin is Freddy's girl and that nobody else can have her, and he doesn't want her going out with anyone else. So it would make sense that he would go after the guy who is pursuing her, but he never does, which is silly. That doesn't make any sense. Like it should be that he goes after all the guys that are interested in her, which is why he killed Dana, and then he would kill Nicholas and be like, you're my girl and I only want you, and I'm going to come in your dreams all the time, and I'm also going to come in your dreams. But he doesn't do that. He just goes after her, which doesn't really work as a story. Because once she's dead, she's dead, right? Like, does he get to, like, I don't know enough of the Freddy lore, but like when he kills someone, does he get to keep them? I guess he does. All those faces in his gut in that one movie, I don't know if those are like victims or I can't remember.
Was that even canon?
I don't know. I can't remember. I've seen that thing in person. I've seen the weird face chest in person. It's like a big, like wall-sized model that they had to build really large to film it. But like, I don't remember what the reason was for that. I cannot recall. We need our Kill by Kill buddies here, Patrick and Gina. They could tell us. But yeah. So we cut to Nicholas and Sookie making out in the library, and she is like kind of like, hey, come, be careful with all the hands and the groping because someone might see us. And then he says. And keep in mind, this is Caitlin's version of Nicholas in her dream. So she has made him into a racist because he says it's the Asian culture section and no one comes back here.
It just why?
What is that? What does that mean?
I don't know. And then she comes in and like Suki leaves, and out of nowhere, Caitlin comes in a trench coat. And then she takes off her trench coat, is wearing lingerie, as much as you can get away with on syndication.
Yeah, like studded lingerie with all these like jewels and things on it.
Yeah, very small underwear. And she attaches him to a spinning wheel. And then she starts calling him Spud constantly.
Yeah. Like
5 or 6 times?
Yeah, he already did it on the radio. So it's like, oh, okay, this must be Freddy doing this in Nicholas's dream because he keeps calling him Spud Boy and saying, all you other Spud boys think I'm a black magic pervert.
So Spud Boy is their version because he can't say bitch on TV.
Oh man, I wonder if he says Spud Boy to everyone in all these other episodes. Welcome to primetime, Spud Boy.
That'd be so great. I wanted some of his interstitials to have Spud Boy in it as well.
I mean, if there was a way to like search all of the Freddy's Nightmare scripts and see how many times Spud Boy or some variation thereof comes up, I would be very interested.
So if someone wants to do that for us, please do.
Yeah. So like then Nicholas is strapped to this wheel of misfortune, they call it. He's like strapped up onto this like torture wheel, and she slashes off all his clothes, and then she spins the wheel of misfortune. He ends up upside down. Then like Freddy shows up and then like starts kind of slashing at him. And then Caitlin wakes up and we're like, oh, this was her dream? Like it doesn't really make any sense.
And then she's like, oh my God, I have to protect Nicholas because Freddy's going to kill him.
Yeah, she's like, she's like, oh, I wouldn't think you were the jealous type, Freddy. And then flips open her notebook and there's a big, oh yeah, written on blood.
Yeah, like Macho Man or Kool-Aid Man.
both trafficking in red. I mean, I guess Macho Man was more yellow, but he had some red in there.
Red and yellow, this Slim Jim color.
That's right. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we got Freddy.
Art thou bored?
We got Freddy, we got Macho Man, we got the Kool-Aid Man, all trafficking in oh yes and the color red.
There is a guest actress in one of the episodes named Elizabeth Savage, which I wish was Elizabeth Poffo would be her married name. But Brad Pitt is also in one of these episodes, by the way.
Another monster.
Another monster. Oh, we have more monsters to come this month.
That's true. So she gets a phone call, and it's Nicholas, and she's like, oh, I thought it might be somebody else. I guess expecting it to be Freddy, but it is not. It is actually Nicholas. He's
unfortunately alive.
Yes. He hems and haws about how he got her phone number, but then eventually just says, I looked in the phone book. And he's like, you seem kind of nervous. Maybe I'll come over and make sure you're okay. And she's like, no, I don't want you to.
Stalker.
And then she goes back to therapy.
Changes into her therapy
clothes again, which is why I thought these were kind of like flashbacks, but I guess they're not, because then she, he says to her, like, you can push Freddy out of your dreams if you really want to. Like, you can do this. And so she's like, fine, I'll go home and I'll do it. She reads a dream book, takes a sleeping pill, and goes into the dream world. And this
with no plan whatsoever.
No plan, no like setup. Like, it would have been interesting if this were like a Freddy movie where she might talk to Nicholas and go, hey, look, I know I said I was interested in Freddy, but something really weird is going on, and he's trying to attack me. We need to fight him and get him to stop and all this stuff. And like, if it were a movie and they had more time, maybe something like that could happen. But as it is, it's a 45-minute show. So it's like, I'm just going to go into the dream and see what happens. And it does not go well for her.
Generally in these type of situations in the movies, like if they're going to go into the dream world to attack him, they usually dream of some situation where they have some like kind of home ground advantage.
Yeah.
But like it's to the point where she intentionally goes into the dream to fight him and then seemingly forgets that she's in a dream immediately.
So yeah, she is in a car and She tries.
This is the worst part of the episode, by the way.
It's pretty bad. She tries to not bad because of quality, but bad because of content. She tries to leave the car, but she can't because everything seems to be razor blades. She can't unbuckle her seatbelt, cuts her hand. She can't start the car, cuts her hands. Everything is cutting her, and she's like, is that the best you can do? I'm not afraid of a little blood. And she says it like that. And
Yes.
The windshield shatters.
She's goth.
And then a man shows up, and we don't know immediately that it's a cop, but he's talking sort of like a cop, and then you see him and he is one. But it's like he shows up and he's like very creepy immediately, which, hey, good on you, Nightmare on Elm Street, for getting this right back in 1989. And he's like, I'm not used to seeing a single lady up here by yourself dressed the way you are. And you're like, oh, fucking hell.
Charging her with the breaking the law of being too sexual in a car by herself in an area that women aren't supposed to be in by themselves.
Yeah. And he walks up to the side of the car and he pulls a gun on her. The second time in the episode that this woman has had a gun pulled on her. And says that she needs to get out of the car for a little poke and pat. And you're just like, fuck, that sucks. And she tries to, she's like, I can't undo my seatbelt. And he's like, well, I'll help you with that. And as he reaches in, he turns into Freddy. And it's weird because it's almost like the cop was really there. And then Freddy like jumped into his body or something. Like he's like, oops, sorry, I'm late.
The maniac cop is... got into my scene for a second here. Let me I was late for work.
It's like, ooh, that guy's really bad. Good thing I showed up.
And like it sets up this like legitimately just horrifying, awful, like literal content warning. If you're gonna watch this episode, just be careful of this part.
Yeah.
And then he just comes in and he fucking eats her face.
Yeah, he just kisses her and then that's it. She's dead. And it's like, that's kind of that. You set up this really, like, the most terrifying part of the episode is that interaction with the cop, because the way that actor is playing it, he is doing a great job of being a real fucking creep. And like, and unfortunately, Caitlin is not the actress playing Caitlin is not the best actress. So like, it doesn't quite sell it, but like that cop guy is doing a fucking good job because he's scary. And then Freddy shows up and like, maybe the producers were doing that on purpose to like lower the mood a little bit because they're like, this is too scary. Like we need to get Freddy in here. We need to get Robert Englund jumping around and making noise to kind of level everybody off a little bit.
Yeah, let's go from this like this real dread, this real thing that could happen to you, and then this burn guy jumps in and goes, hello, and then like puts this goes out to all the spuds out there, and then he jumps up in front of her face and just wiggle waggles his face for a while. Then we show her she must live alone as a high school senior because it's her house.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, so we cut back, and Nicholas is trying to figure out where her house is. It's not listed in the phone book, and he's like, "Well, she walks to school, so maybe she lives around here." I guess he's close to school. Who knows? He runs around. It doesn't matter because her house is clearly the one with the cops and the coroner van parked in front of it. So, didn't take him too long to find it, and he just runs inside.
What if it was a different
murder? Yeah, at this point in the dream, that's where we hear on the radio that like it's like couched as a football game score announcement, and it's like the Red and Greens took out like 604 souls today, and like you're just like, oh, okay, so he's killed 600 kids, and maybe he's juicing those numbers a little bit, but still.
And then like they do like he's like, I'm her friend, and they let him get right up to the crime scene.
Yeah, right up to the corpse that's just sitting there in the body bag open.
Yeah, like one of the bit actors clearly having some trouble with the
That's
zipper.
right, he is. He's like trying to zip it for a couple times before the camera slowly starts to move away.
Yeah, it's very funny. And then they're like, look at her. She's all death obsessed because she's shopped at the Halloween section of Home Goods.
Yeah, they're like
it's not that spooky a house. It's just a lot of like Halloween decorations.
Yeah,
and
it's just a
candles.
lot of candles and Halloween shit, and there's some Ouija boards on the wall, and like it's.
But they're like basically like, good thing she's dead. She loved death so much.
This death junkie is here. You're just like,
Yeah,
fuck
she's
off.
like, oh, self-mutilation and barbiturates, fucking good riddance. Like, it's a teenager who died, you fucking assholes. Like,
I mean, you have to think
like,
though, if there have been 600 people dead,
is,
they're just real jaded to it now. Like they
real
don't give a
jaded.
shit. They're gonna leave. They're gonna leave her house with their body in the coroner van, and they're gonna go to a house a block over and throw another body on top.
And Nicholas can run in there too.
Like I'm curious if all of these like Freddy's nightmares are happening simultaneously. So there's so many people just getting murdered constantly.
It's so callous.
It is, but like they're like, yeah, she's she self-mutilation, and Nicholas like, what are you talking about? And then they unzip the bag further and pull her shirt down, and you see like Freddy plus Caitlin carved in her chest, like, and it's like, well, clearly she didn't do that, but okay. And so then that's the episode, but we got to end it with Freddy going, if love is the drug, just say no, which doesn't make any sense because we didn't talk about drugs in this episode.
Well, she took barbiturates.
Yeah, but that's not, she took sleeping pills to go into the dream state. Like that doesn't count.
It's so, I mean, just say no, like much like safe sex, just say no was just, very popular then of trying to get kids to do something.
Like, why didn't, if this episode's called safe sex, why did somebody not get like wrapped in plastic or something and like suffocated?
Why didn't he's got sharp little needle hands? Like, why didn't he fucking cut off the tip of a condom?
Yeah, like poked holes in a condom or something like that. Like, or like again, like wrapping someone up in a giant condom, or like, I don't know, maybe you couldn't show that on television. You couldn't show a condom on television. Like, you want everybody to use them, but you can't show them because that's like,
they don't even reference safe sex once, and they fucking have somebody's dick torn off.
Yeah, I mean, it would be funny though if he like if some guy woke up and he was being suffocated by like a giant condom. Like that would be great. And then, he could say, they always say wrap it up, and then the guy suffocates.
So this is a great show.
It's pretty excellent.
The production values are terrible, which actually helps.
Yeah, no, it's not great, but I enjoyed it. Like I had a lot of fun with it.
I wish the Hellraisers movies which looked the same as this had half as much fun. Like, forget the cop stuff at the back, and they didn't need that. No show ever needs implied rape threats.
No,
ever,
definitely
not once. Don't need to go there. Everything else, though, everyone's terrible. There's a lesson to this episode. I have no idea what it is. It's just that Nicholas lived and he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, it sucks that he didn't get anything. Like that he could have gotten murdered or terrorized or
it comes off like we're assuming that we're actually supposed to have been cheering for him all along. But also this is Freddy's story, so maybe he likes the worst person.
I think that you could have, I mean, not that this is necessarily less traumatic or any better necessarily, but like I feel like
I wish more kids had died.
Well, I feel like if they had kind of shifted it so that Nicholas was also getting terrorized, I guess maybe their thinking was we don't want to do the same story again. Where it's the same kid getting, killed because he likes this girl that Freddy wants to, inhabit her dreams or whatever. But
what does he really want?
I don't know. It's so, I don't know. I had fun watching it for sure because it's very of its time, and like I had a blast. Like,
we'll probably be back to this.
Yeah, because there's a couple on here, man, and they did a really interesting thing where they did sequels to the episodes within the season. So like season 1 has a sequel episode to the pilot, and then season 2 has sequels to season 1 episodes, which I think is kind of a unique thing. I did just scrub through to see if there was a sequel to this one, and it doesn't look like there ever was, unfortunately.
And there's some interesting, like Toby Hooper does the pilot.
Oh, okay. So that might be interesting then.
Yeah, and Robert Englund does direct in 1 or 2 episodes.
Okay, well that might be worth watching too. Then I did enjoy watching it. I think it's It's pretty fun. It's definitely of its time. It's I think that it's a good time on I think it's a good time. I don't think you will be disappointed if you watch it. I think you kind of will know what you're getting if you roll into Freddy's Nightmares. Like, you have to know what you're getting into with this. But yeah, I mean, I guess we can go ahead and place this on our scale of spookiness. We didn't relabel it last time, but I think we will go ahead and relabel this for at least the Halloween months. Our scale of spookiness. So I think where would you put this on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being no spooks and 10 being all the spooks?
Probably a 5. It would have been a 6, but the green screen of Freddy sitting crisscross applesauce,
sitting on a lazy Susan, twirling around,
kind of brought down the spookiness just a touch.
I could see that. Yeah, I think I'll give it a 6. I think I will go with 6. I think it was pretty fun for what it was. Not scary in the slightest, but still a good time. It's always fun seeing Robert Englund do this, even though his voice sounds a little weird in this. It's always fun seeing him do this character.
He sounds like a podcaster doing an impression of Robert.
Oh, so he sounds like me doing my impression throughout the episode. I'll say a 6. I think that it was a good time. I think this was a good one as our kind of like official start. I'd say the Salute Your Shorts is kind of the unofficial start to the spooky season, and this one really like goes full on. And I really dug it. I'm glad that we covered this, and I think we will return. I hope that there's maybe a Christmas episode or something we could cover later on this year. That would be a lot of fun.
There is an episode by William Malone, the director of Fear.com.
Oh,
which I forgot existed.
But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this episode of Center of Spookiness. But until next time, when we're back with another spooky television episode,
if you live,
I've been Josh Kruger.
I've been Fred Skinner. Just name my uncle.
And we want you to keep it spooky, you spud boy. You've been listening to Center of Weirdness. If you like this show, rate and review us wherever you find it, but especially on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to every episode at centerofweird.com, where you can also find all of the old Predictocast episodes. And if you want to get in touch with us to tell us about a show we should cover, hit us up on Twitter at WeirdCenter. As always, thanks for listening.
New catchphrase.
Keep it spooky, spud boy. If this show ever gets popular, we'll make t-shirts.
No one will buy that.
But
we'll make them.
Keep it spooky, spud boy. It'll just be a potato with a Freddy Krueger claw on it.
He's slicing them into he's Frenching.
Yeah,
them.
he's julienning them.
Julienne them.